Bringing an unconventional idea to life is never easy. Doing anything new or different means pushing people outside their comfort zone. This push can be exciting, but it's also exhausting. Because to push someone outside of this zone, you first have to step outside of your own and think outside the box. So where do you start this process of the unconventional idea? You start with the belief in the power of creative transformation. Then you live that belief. You live the big dream, you live no sleep, and you live the unconventional. In April of 2019, that unconventional idea came to life in Toronto. How unconventional? How about taking 120 shipping containers, an entire unused city block, and turning it into a big, inspiring, beautiful development where culture, curation, culinary, and community intersect? That unconventional idea is now Stacked, a platform for innovation where small business, big brands, artists, and chefs can all bring their big, unconventional ideas to life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It's easy to talk about the big idea. It's easy to talk about this thing called Stacked. It's easy to talk about taking raw industrial components, layering in design, and creating something amazing. What's a lot harder is to talk about the story behind it, the human story. The story about perseverance, creativity, and thinking outside the box, while ultimately working inside one. Now, I should probably take another step back and talk a little bit about the box itself, the unconventional building block of this idea. Shipping containers are large steel rectangular crates that were used for the last 60 years to do just that, ship and move cargo by sea, rail, and on trucks. They transformed how things were shipped through something called intermodulism, which is just a fancy way of saying that all the containers are the same. This simple idea had a profound effect. It streamlined moving products across the globe, but certain countries were importing more than they were exporting. Combine that with a limited lifespan on these large rectangular steel crates, and a large surplus began to add up. So what did people do with them? Well, they began retrofitting and finding other creative uses for them, including me. So now we've got to go back 7 years to travel to the warm nation of Costa Rica to find the place where I first started thinking inside the box. I was sitting with my brother at a beachside restaurant 6,000 kilometers away from home. Fish taco in one hand, local beer in the other, when that unconventional idea was born. We found the perfect little coastal town and envisioned creating a cool beachfront hotel, but with a twist. We'd build it using refurbished shipping containers. It'd be low cost, quick to build, and we'd sit back and enjoy the life of luxury, enjoying the beach, the ocean, and the warm sun of Costa Rica. The perfect plan, and relatively simple, right? Unfortunately not. We quickly realized there were several restrictions with local bylaws. Our dream was overshadowed with challenges, and reality came crashing down like the waves in front of us. Now, travel back 6,000 kilometers to a snowy, cold winter's day in downtown Toronto. No waves, no tacos, no dream. I was sitting there staring out the window, and there it was again, that unconventional idea. I started to reimagine my project and build a plan to build an incredible new destination right here in my home city. You see, over the past decade, the population in downtown Toronto has grown rapidly. Condos have been going up faster than we can imagine. With all these condos, we have thousands of people living stacked on top of each other with a lack of public space for them to get out, gather, and connect. If you lived in downtown Toronto, you'd agree there's simply not enough of these spaces. And therein lies an opportunity. I scouted locations for months looking for where this project could live. And eventually I found a property, a huge property, like the size of 2 football fields huge, sitting empty and neglected. So there I was again, pitching version 2 of my dream to the powers that be, and surprise, surprise, it was met with resistance and a whole lot of no. It was different, it was new, it was a big idea. It was built around the idea of developing an entire city block using shipping containers. But unlike Costa Rica, I wasn't going to give up. I knew I couldn't fail on version 2. I had to think outside the box, and more importantly, I had to convince others to accept the unconventional with me. I followed 3 steps that I embraced: stand up and push forward, get creative and problem solve, and don't give up. Not everyone will see things through the same lens right away, and you gotta believe in your crazy ideas. Now, it wasn't all motivational self-pep talk and learn lessons. I was up against the very real challenge of finding and leasing unused land in Toronto. Once I found my dream plot of land, I met with a real estate lawyer who was intrigued with the concept, but had several questions, including, who owns the land? When I replied the city, he immediately said, can you find another property? Municipal-owned land was apparently a huge red flag, because here I was with an unproven model, didn't have a portfolio of developments, and if you looked me up on LinkedIn, you'd see my most recent roles at a marketing firm. How could someone like me manage a 100,000 square foot development? But I needed this to work for my community, my family, and my own self-worth. So, my big unconventional dream had a home. Now all it needed was investors, tenants, and sponsors. Typical real estate investors couldn't wrap their head around the project. We didn't own the land, and we took the buildings with us when we left. Tenants were intrigued, but understandably hesitant. It was a new development in an area without much retail, and it was only temporary. Sponsors couldn't see how they could still engage and connect with consumers without the opportunity to plaster their logos everywhere. But slowly I turned all these challenges into benefits. I found investors who saw how this project could address the shifting retail landscape and how it could be one small step to help solve the lack of public spaces. I found tenants and sponsors who were excited about the opportunity to be part of something different in a space where a lot of things are pretty much the same. My ideas seemed to be resonating, but there I was in weekly meetings with key stakeholders who are collectively doing billions of dollars of business each year. My dream, 2 football fields large, suddenly felt teeny. Most meetings were met with feedback like, we're unfamiliar with that approach, or simply, we just can't do that. The zoning was complicated, the red tape seemed bigger than the project itself, and there were times it took 4 months just to get one decision. Those months felt like years, and it was difficult for me because I took this project home to my family, and it was difficult for me, it was difficult for my wife, it was difficult for my 2 sons who I was spending very little time with. So there I was, repeating those 3 steps again. Believe you've got this, get creative, and don't give up. So I did. I gave in 200%. I gave it to every day, every meeting, every hour, every phone call, because it was all so crucial to the success of this project. So back to April 2019, I'm proud to say my idea, born from the beach in Costa Rica, was brought to life as Stacked, an award-winning modern lifestyle market and community hub made from 120 shipping containers. Stacked is an ever-changing and evolving public space designed to inspire the unconventional. It's a natural incubator for local entrepreneurs and brands, a platform for innovators and creatives. Who knows what will happen next? Will we need to pack up and stack our containers on the back of trucks like some 21st century traveling circus? Don't know. Future isn't that clear. But I do know one thing as real as any steel container. Bringing a big, unconventional idea to life doesn't happen by following the status quo. It happens by finding new ways to stand out and push forward, by never giving up on your dream, by learning from failure, and realizing that unconventional ideas, coupled with creativity and persistence, will get you out of that box. Good luck out there, and thank you.